Hey, good morning, everybody. I got to set up for the morning briefing. Look at that beautiful ocean. I'm just back from a tremendous trip on the Amigo where we had limits of bluefin tuna, big grouper, big sheephead, and so much more. I'll fill you in on that. How about a 75-pound yellowtail? We'll get you caught up on where that was caught. Also, some pretty good fishing going on south of the border. Long-range fishing, excellent. The Coronado Islands on fire, and so much more here on the morning briefing. I'll get set up, bring it to you next. Stay tuned, and don't forget, everybody, just dropping a moment ago, the history of sport fishing, an interview with Michael Folks. You're not going to want to miss it, all on the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel. Stay tuned. The MB is next.
20 feet. Sundowner.
Spider.
Here we go, boys.
Nice one.
Right here.
Woohoo! Lock him down. All right, let's go.
So we don't get blood.
Coming down.
Phil Friedman, get this on camera!
Up and over, Phil.
Come on, Phil, throw him on, you can do it! Whoa, whoa,
There we go.
somebody control that guy!
Old man with a gap.
One crank. I'm on the
All the other shit I talk about Nick, he does know how to pull on a big.
We're gonna get a shot at this fish, and it's a big one.
Oh, let Phil get over slow!
Yeah! Wow! That's a good one. Damn, boys! Wow, Carlos! Heck yeah, it is. That's a cool.
Over slow!
Yeah! Shit! Wow! That's a good one. Damn, boys! Wow, Carlos!
That's a buck 50. Go ahead.
Heck yeah, it is. That's a
Watch
cool
your
fish.
Phil.
Woo! Good job, George.
That leader's done.
Juan, Nick, Mark, Carlos, Mackie. Hey, good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to beautiful Surfside, California. I am just back from a two-day trip, a fabulous two-day trip on board the Amigo out of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, California. It was phenomenal. Limits of bluefin tuna for everybody on board this great trip. It was fabulous, and not only that, we topped off with some giant, beautiful reds at San Nicolas Island. Big grouper, and also some great sheephead fishing. It was a trip to remember. I'll have more on that, and that video is coming out soon also. Just dropping moments ago, a great interview with my dear friend Michael Folks from Inside Sport Fishing. Well, I say Inside Sport Fishing. Mike had that show on the air for over 30 years, but now he's produced the history of sport fishing, and you're not only going to want to see this interview, you're going to want to purchase the history of sport fishing. It is great stuff. How about a 75-pound yellowtail? We'll have the details on that. Some awesome Coronado Island yellowtail fishing and some fabulous lobster hoop netting going on here in Southern California. We'll have the Baja beat and so much more. You know what time it is. It's time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. Oh my God, I don't know if my voice is going to make it through the morning briefing because, man, I've been hooting and hollering and having so much fun with such a great group of people that we had on board the Amigo. That was phenomenal. Had so much fun. I am planning, but as you know, Florida is under siege right now with this Hurricane Milton moving in there. I'm still planning, and my trip is still confirmed for tomorrow evening to fly into Orlando. We'll see how that all works out. And of course, our thoughts and prayers are with all the wonderful people in Florida. My son Patrick does not appear to be in the danger zone, although they could have some tornadoes, they could have some heavy rain. So we're watching that all very, very closely. If my flight is a go, I will be going and bringing you Florida content. Not sure what that content will be. We were hoping to provide you with some fishing action. We'll see how this all plays out. But again, thoughts and prayers with everybody there. Michael Folks, that great video is up right now. The history of sport fishing. Check it out. Had a great time spending time with my dear friend Michael Folks. And again, this is a video that you've got to see, a 12-part series. And we'll get into the Amigo trip that we just finished up. It was phenomenal. Don't forget to hit that like button. We deeply appreciate it when you do that. If you could share these videos with a friend, also greatly appreciate it. Subscribe to the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel. And also, don't forget, tick that little bell. You'll be notified when there is new content. We're also on Facebook, on Instagram, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and TikTok every single day for each and every one of you. Beautiful ocean behind us. It was flat calm on our trip. But let me start you down in La Paz. Tail Hunter International. They got flashed by some 80-pound yellowfin tuna here recently. Some really good YFT fishing. It's been a late season down there in La Paz, as well as, all throughout Baja California and here in Southern California. But they've been catching some dorado and some yellowfin tuna. Things are going along very, very well for my dear friend Jonathan and Jill Roldan at Tail Hunter International. You want to fish with them. You want to go to their restaurant. They are really great people. Down there around Mag Bay, we see some excellent fishing. Jens Meyerhoff, private boater's been putting the hurt on the yellowfin tuna. My co-host in Mexico, Pauline, and her mom, Berenice, had great fishing down there. And now we'll segue into the long-range scene, which has been absolutely phenomenal. I don't know how it can get any better than it has been. Great yellowfin tuna fishing on superior grade YFT. Great wahoo fishing going on down there. And there's some really excellent yellowtail fishing. On the way home, the Independence is finishing up an absolutely phenomenal trip where they put the herd on the yellowfin tuna and the wahoo, limiting out on both species. Caught yellowtail and then went into the beach on their way home, and they had some more yellowtail. They even had a white sea bass. So some really great fishing on the Independence. I don't know how it can get any better. On board the Intrepid, Joe Dawson with his dad, Bob. Look at that 75-pound yellowtail. And excuse me, that was on the Royal Star. That 75-pound big forky with my dear friend Diego Nuno on board the Royal Star. Nice going, Joe. On the Intrepid, they had excellent yellowfin tuna fishing, wide open YF2 fishing, as has the Royal Star. Everybody that's going down there on these 8 to 10 day trips have been just having a phenomenal year. The long range season out of San Diego has been incredible. So it continues with great wahoo, great yellowfin tuna, 75-pound yellowtail on board the Royal Star. It's been fantastic, and it just is showing no signs of slowing down. We're still south of the border, taking a look at Ensenada. Over-underline on my voice holding up is another 2 minutes. The over-under on my voice, 2 more minutes. I say I'm going to make it. Ensenada, some really great rock fishing going on down there. You get offshore, you can still come up with a bluefin tuna or two out there, but it's very inconsistent. The offshore scene is very dicey right now. The fallback is excellent rock fishing, but in addition to that, there's an occasional bass bite. There's still some yellowtails zooming around Todos Santos Island and Punta Banda. If you find the birds picking at the water, the yellows are forcing that bait to the surface, you can still get in on some good yellow action. It's run and gun fishing. You run up on your ponga, you throw a surface iron, and hopefully you take a couple winds on that 40-pound, and you are bit. Some really good yellow action, but inconsistent also. Again, really good rock fishing. Tax problems, you want to check with our friend Tim Marquez. Tim's the very best. He'll help you unravel your tax dilemma. And for heating and or air conditioning needs, you want to talk to our friend John Lopez at Efficient Heating and Air Conditioning. All right, time to bump you up here and talk about the bite that's going on Tanner, Cortez. We were on Cherry Bank. That was phenomenal for us. In fact, on board the Amigo, by the way, what a crew on board the Amigo. They not only make it fun, they not only have a positive attitude, they not only entertain you the whole way through, but they are good at what they do. The food on board the Amigo, copious amounts of meals and expertly prepared by George. Great job. Captain Mark Paisano Jr. I got to gaff a bluefin for Mark. Been a while since I've put the stick in a fish. That was a lot of fun. And of course, Mark Sonata up there on the bait tanks entertaining everybody. Juan down on deck doing a great job. Nick Hawkins, who's going to be moving to Texas soon. You guys are number one. Out to Cherry Bank where the weather was flat calm. We were looking around, not finding much. Got a great big fish for Carlos Morales. In fact, the galley cook, George, dropped a jig down, and as he was dropping it down, he said, you know, we haven't had much on the jigs here, whoa, recently. And then he got tied up onto a nice 130-pound fish. Carlos Morales got to pull on it quite a bit, but everybody contributed, and it made Carlos's dreams come true with that 130-pound bluefin tuna coming on board. That got our morning started, and then at about 10 a.m., we went into a drift that took us into the dark. We had a couple of fish going most of the time. A couple of times we'd go dry, but we had eruptions all around the Amigo. Tremendous show on the fish, and those guys who were doing those little things right. Sometimes you had to drop down to that 25-pound. In fact, most cases, 25-pound fluorocarbon, a number 4 circle hook, and a really good hot lively bait. There were some guys on there that were doing that. Ed, you were one of those guys. Eric, you were one of those guys. John Garma is usually one of those guys, choosing good hot baits, changing those baits regularly, and they put the hurt on the BFT. And all of the folks who showed up, they were all fantastic. Really a great group of anglers. We had so much fun. I can't thank you enough for being there. So that lighter line in most cases worked. There was a couple times when guys got bit on the 30 and 40, and you can do that and accomplish that feat by choosing a really good hot bait. But what a trip on the Amigo. Limits of bluefin tuna. And then we finish up at San Nicolas Island, and we put the herd on the big reds. Some guys like Travis and John Garma were, slow pitching for the rockfish. Other guys fish bait. Either way, we were catching really big, beautiful, vibrantly colored reds. And before we started to go out in the deep water, we were fishing for sheephead and whitefish. What a trip. It can't get any better than it was. We were feeling really, really, really blessed. The Rooster Crow crew. Yeah, those guys were recently on board the Freedom. While we were out, they submitted some photos, and it was so good to see Daryl Folger, Lee Moroth, Lance Bliss, and Doug Green on board the Freedom. They put the herd on the fish with 30 guys catching 54 on the bluefin tuna. Now, we had an exceptional bite on board the Amigo. There's a lot of slower kind of action going on. You've got to get on that right bunch of fish, and if you're lucky enough to do it, you can put together a really good day. But you can also have a pretty darn slow day. That certainly was the case for many boats, and we'll watch it very closely here today to see where we go. But it's not like you go out there and have the kind of day we had on board the Amigo. We were very, very blessed to get the bite that we had. And that video will be coming out shortly, and I think you're really going to enjoy the banter on deck as well as some really hot action. But just to make the point, not full speed for everybody. We sure have our fall weather. I've been blabbing all year long about the fall is when we get our best weather months here in Southern California offshore. We certainly experienced that. It was like a lake. Thunderbird, they were out there on a Jeff Price trip. Jeff is a great guy. He does such a phenomenal job with his groups. In fact, 2 of those anglers were over at 22nd Street Landing father and son. I walked into the office to go in and do an early podcast, and they're like, whoa, Friedman Adventures. Big fans. Thanks, you guys, so very, very much. Hope you had a fun time on the Thunderbird. They ended up with 16 bluefin tuna. They got a show on the humpback whales while they were out there, and they caught a rare one, a white speckled rockfish on that trip. So, some hit and miss fishing, some really good trips like we had, and we're blessed at. Incidentally, the boys on the Freedom said that SK lures work for them at night. Rip rollers also, they fish both sinker rigs and fly line. We have most of our bites on the Amigo on fly line baits. There was a couple of times when those fish erupted off the bow, and I saw Dave Giles run up to the bow with a Colt sniper, toss it, and get bit. I was up in the wheelhouse with Captain Mark Paisano. It was great to see that unfold in front of my eyes. It was such a spectacular trip. I can't say enough about it. Can't wait to produce that video for you. I don't know if I'll be doing it sitting in an airport tomorrow, or maybe I'll get it all churned out here today. We'll see if that is indeed possible. Really good stuff. If you're headed to Ventura sport fishing this Friday, deep water caught, some of the same kind of action we just experienced. Man, you're going to want to go on the Island Spirit with Captain Daniel Hottaway. You can give Ventura Sport Fishing a call right now, 805-676-3474, or go to venturasportfishing.com. And if you go to Catalina Island, yes, indeed, you want to jump on board the El Patron. She's a great, fast rig, taking to Catalina Island in comfort and style. And the rock fishing there's been very good here recently. www.longbeachsportfishing.org. Get off the El Patron. So that's your offshore bite. We've got to take it to the islands, and the Coronado Islands have been exceptionally hot here recently, and it is continuing that way. It's mostly a yo-yo iron, so a heavy jig that you sink deep and wind on fast. Yo-yo iron or dropper loop fishing, and the nicer grade yellowtail, say 12 pounds and above for the most part, and I'd say a good 15 to 18 pound average, have been chewing it up down there at the islands right now. The Grande with an exceptional day, 18 anglers, 67 on the yellowtail. If you're going on the Grande, Scott Buchert might very well be your deckhand. Get a picture with Scott and send it to yours truly. I would love to see Scott working and doing his thing down there in San Diego. As I said, it's dropper loop and it's yo-yo iron fishing. It's great. The San Diego, 53 on the yellowtail. And you know, while you're dropper loop fishing for yellowtail, that doesn't mean you can just drop down a dead bait and get a bite. Sometimes that happens. Rarely. It's still choosing a hot bait and changing that bait regularly. That'll make all the difference in the world to you. So I am loving what is going on there. It is phenomenal. San Clemente Island, we continue to see a few yellowtail, occasional white sea bass, good calico bass fishing, okay calico bass fishing, really good rockfish. And then as we work you up to Catalina, the Pursuit with a really good day. They had reds and rockfish, did really, really well on the sheephead. The goats were biting. Same kind of stuff going on the El Patron. Catalina is not wide open on the surface fishing, but that bottom bite's been good here recently. And the weather has been absolutely phenomenal. It has been absolutely gorgeous. San Nicolas Island, I told you about that. Sheephead, whitefish, big rockfish, tremendous fishing going on there. It has been phenomenal. Channel Islands, occasional halibut, occasional white sea bass, lots of rockfish up there right now. Don't forget Ventura Sport Fishing. They are going on the Island Spirit this Friday. That's going to be a good one. We'll ride you up to Santa Barbara, where there's been good rock fishing. Avila Beach and Morro Bay, good rock fishing. Still some big bluefin off San Francisco, but lots of big lings there. Also, it's been really great fishing in the northern sector also. So we are loving what's going on at the islands. Taking a look at our local bite. It is mostly rockfish right now from San Diego all the way up to Ventura. Lots of rockfish biting for the boys. Got to be fishing in 300 feet or deeper right now. And to me, that just means lots more bigger fish. I love fishing deep water cod. We saw it on our trip on the Amigo. It was phenomenal. Really great stuff going on. Although, the other day out of Dana World Sport Fishing, they released a whole bunch of short sand bass. So there's some good action. So there's some bass down there in San Diego and Dana, but not that much, and certainly not that consistent. You're going to fall back on the rockfish. Wouldn't surprise me, though, to see San Diego get flashed with some of the same kind of deep water yellowtail action that we're seeing at the islands right now. La Jolla is really good for that at times, and some kayakers and some private guys have been getting in on that. So that is something for us to keep our eyes on for you very, very closely. So that's what's going on in our coastal situation. Hey, I got to mention some hoop netting. Lobster hoop netting is in full swing right now. And Abraham Esparza was in Long Beach Harbor and put the hurt, catching limits of langosta, the lobster. 7 lobster is the limit. He has been putting the hurt on him. Way to go, Abraham. In the Southern California surf, we continue to see some pretty good fishing going on down there around Huntington Beach as I point you over to Big Fish Bait and Tackle in the beautiful city of Seal Beach, California, down there where they have a monthly giveaway of a brand new beautiful surf fishing rod. It is gorgeous. It's custom made. All you have to do is go into Big Fish, purchase their ruler. You'll measure your catch on that ruler so everybody is using the same ruler and it's all uniform, and then you'll upload it to their Instagram page. Every single month they give that away. You don't have to pay any more money. Just buy the ruler. And you can get all your bait and tackle and everything else back to Huntington Beach, where we see a little bit of corvina, but a lot of barred perch starting to move in there. There's a little yellowfin croaker here in Surfside, California, but more barred perch starting to show here. Santa Monica Bay, a little bit more on the corvina up there in that neck of the woods, especially up there around El Segundo, but more perch starting to show up. Reason? Perch like colder water, corvina do not. And there's that fall kind of late spawn on halibut some years. We're starting to see a few more flatfish being caught here and over in the Long Beach area. We're seeing it over there. Also, a little bit more activity going on. Wow, what a trip on the Amigo. It was one for the books. Stay tuned. We'll be releasing some more shorts and getting you up to snuff on how that all went and producing a full-length video with the guys on the Amigo. That was fun. And to all of you who showed up, that was a great one. Thinking about a December 7th rockfish trip on board the Amigo, one-day trip on December the 7th. Going to put that together. Pretty sure we're going to do that. And we have a 2-day trip coming up on the Apollo in November. You may want to become part of that. We would love to have you on board with us. Don't miss the Michael Folks great interview we did about the history of sport fishing. Mike's a fantastic guy. We go back a long way together. You hear some funny stories about a bachelor party we did with Mike out at sea when we were boarded by the Mexican Navy. That was a memory that will be indelibly etched in my mind, that is for sure. And of course, we'll be watching everything else for you all. I'll let you know about Florida content, whether I'm going to fly into the eye of the hurricane or not. Hearts and prayers are with everybody in Florida right now, especially those in Tampa Bay, where it looks like that thing will make landfall a little bit later today. Take care. Have a great day, and I hope to see you really, really soon.